Long ago, there was a king named Perseus who ruled the kingdom of Argos. The king had a daughter named Danae, who was breathtakingly beautiful. The king had everything he wanted in life, except for a male heir to continue his lineage. Troubled by this, the king visited the oracle of Delphi to learn about his fate. Expecting to hear good news, the king was shaken by the prophet's words. He was told that he would never have a son and that his destiny was to be killed by the son of his daughter, Danae. Fearing for his life, the king decided to never allow his daughter to marry and locked her away in a tower where she could only see the sky through a narrow window. Danae looked out of her window and prayed to the gods of Mount Olympus, hoping for a way out of her confinement. The king of the gods, Zeus, heard her prayers and fell in love with her. Disguised as a handsome young man, Zeus visited Danae in her tower, and they fell in love. Zeus impregnated Danae, and she gave birth to a son named Perseus. When the king learned of this, he feared for his life and tried to get rid of Danae and her son. But to avoid angering the gods, he did not directly kill them. Instead, he had them put into a chest and cast into the ocean, hoping that they would die and that he would be safe from the prophecy. However, the power of the gods should never be underestimated. Poseidon, the god of the seas, saved Danae and her son from the raging waves and sea creatures and brought them to the island of Seriphos. There, they were found by a kind fisherman named Dictys, who was also the brother of the island's king, Polydectes. Dictys took them in and raised Perseus as his own son. Years passed, and Perseus grew up to be a strong, handsome, and brave young man. One day, the king held a feast at his palace and invited Danae and Perseus. During the feast, the king was struck by Danae's beauty and wanted to possess her. But Perseus always protected his mother, so the king had to find a way to separate them. As guests at the feast presented gifts to the king, he noticed that Perseus had nothing to offer. To get rid of him, the king asked Perseus to go on a mission to bring back the head of the monster Medusa as a gift. Perseus had always been aware of the immense power that lay within him and his destiny to accomplish great things. Fearlessly, he accepted the mission to fulfill his fate, which was to find the horrendous Gorgon Medusa and bring her head back as a trophy. In his quest, Perseus received help from the gods, Hermes and Athena. Athena bestowed upon him a shining shield, while Hermes loaned him his winged sandals to aid him in his journey. In addition, a guardian nymph offered him the helmet of Hades, which granted the power of invisibility to the wearer. The nymph also gave him a special bag in which to keep Medusa's head. She also warned him of the curse of Medusa, who had once been a beautiful woman before being transformed into a dreadful creature with serpent-like hair, capable of turning those who looked into her eyes to stone. Perseus was unsure of the whereabouts of the Gorgon, and the only knowledge he possessed was that several courageous heroes who had gone after her had never returned. Hence, he had to first locate the Grii, who were the primordial deities related to Medusa. The Grii were 3 elderly women, but they had only one eye between them, which they took turns to use. Perseus, using his stealth, succeeded in stealing the eye from the Grii. Frustrated and sightless, they attempted to apprehend him but failed. The hero agreed to return their eye only if they revealed the location of Medusa's hideout. The Grii reluctantly agreed and pointed the way to her lair. Perseus returned the eye and proceeded to the cave where Medusa resided. However, 2 other Gorgons, Ariole and Steno, Medusa's sisters, stood guard at the entrance. Wearing the helmet of Hades, Perseus managed to sneak into the cave without attracting the attention of the Gorgons. Upon entering, he was confronted with countless statues of men who had fallen victim to the creature. Fearful of being caught off guard, Perseus exercised caution. As Perseus observed the silhouette of a beast wielding a bow, an arrow was shot in his direction. The hero sought shelter behind a pillar, but with the guidance of the goddess Athena, he was able to conquer his fear and concentrate on finding a way to overcome the creature. Perseus realized that his shield was polished enough to serve as a mirror, and by utilizing its reflection, he saw Medusa approaching him. Although she attempted to strike him, Perseus skillfully evaded her attack and retaliated by decapitating her. Medusa perished, and from her blood emerged the winged horse Pegasus. Perseus, carrying Medusa's head as a trophy in a special bag given to him by a nymph, used his winged sandals to make his triumphant journey back home. After traveling for an extended period, the weary hero discovered a lovely location and rested there. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Ethiopia, the conceited and vain Queen Cassiopeia boasted about her daughter Andromeda's beauty. This angered the Nereids, aquatic nymphs renowned for their undeniable charm. The Nereids demanded Poseidon to punish the kingdom, and he determined that Andromeda must be sacrificed to the sea creature Cetus to spare the city from destruction. To save his kingdom, the king of Ethiopia chose to sacrifice his own daughter, and Andromeda was chained to a rock by the sea and left to her fate. As Perseus journeyed home, he encountered the gorgeous woman chained to the rock and instantly fell in love. However, a terrible beast emerged from the sea, seemingly seeking its sacrifice. Perseus refused to back down and decided to confront the creature head-on. He utilized his divine sword and his winged sandals to dive into the sea, battling the monster fiercely. The sandals' wings became soaked with blood and water, making it impossible for Perseus to fly. Nevertheless, he persisted, avoiding the beast's attacks and ultimately defeating it by turning it to stone with Medusa's head. Thanks to Perseus's bravery, the kingdom and the princess were rescued. As a reward, the king of Ethiopia bestowed upon Perseus the hand of the beautiful princess Andromeda. Following their marriage, Perseus and his new bride sailed to the island of Seriphos to complete his mission. By defeating Medusa and rescuing Princess Andromeda from a terrifying sea monster, Perseus expected to receive recognition. However, upon his arrival, he was met with a cold reception. He learned that the king had mistreated his mother, Danae, who had been forced to live in the palace. With the help of Dictys, the king's brother and Perseus' adoptive father, Danae was able to escape. Perseus was outraged by the mistreatment of his mother and gathered allies to confront the king of Seriphos. A violent confrontation ensued, with the king's army initially having the upper hand due to their superior numbers. As Perseus faced defeat, he pulled out the head of Medusa and turned all of his enemies and the king into stone. His enemies was defeated. Dictys became the new king and Perseus returned the divine artifacts to the gods. The head of Medusa was fixed onto Athena's shield, and Perseus' reputation as a hero spread throughout Greece. There were rumors that Perseus would seek revenge against his grandfather, Acrisius, who had thrown him and his mother into the sea when he was an infant. Acrisius had fled to avoid the prophecy that his grandson would kill him. Despite the rumors, Perseus had no intention of seeking revenge against his grandfather. As a celebrated hero, Perseus was often invited to festivals and games in honor of the gods. During a discus-throwing event, Perseus accidentally struck a nobleman who turned out to be his grandfather, Acrisius. Acrisius died from the impact, unwittingly fulfilling the prophecy from the Oracle of Delphi. And that's the story of hero Perseus. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories about mythology. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.